The descent left many people with claustrophobia, and one of the reasons is due to its disturbing ending. It tells the story of a group of friends who get more than they expected after exploring a cave system. However, while the 6 women struggle to navigate the treacherous caves, they become trapped when a tunnel collapses. To make matters worse, Juno, one of the girls who was in charge of planning the trip, did not bring any guide and changed the caves they were supposed to explore at the last minute, so no one knows where they are and no help arrives. Then, while trying to explore the terrain of the cavern, which is both claustrophobic and open, the group unexpectedly finds themselves trying to evade deadly, unknown creatures that have made this territory their home. These monsters are blind, humanoid, carnivorous creatures resembling bats, and they hunt their victims through sound. The film itself has 2 endings, the British and the American ending. In the American version, Sarah, covered in blood after surviving the creatures and abandoning Juno in the cave system, manages to find an exit and escapes to the surface. She drives away from the forest, but her peace is broken when she sees the ghost of Juno in the passenger seat. Even though Sarah has physically escaped, she is mentally and emotionally scarred by the experience. However, the British ending is way darker. In this version, after the same initial escape scene and the scare with Juno's appearance, the screen cuts to black and shows that Sarah never actually escaped. The exit sequence was a hallucination, and Sarah is still trapped deep within the cave. In her desperation, she has a vision of her daughter Jessica with a birthday cake, but as this illusion fades, the environment reveals that she's surrounded by darkness and still being hunted by the creatures, making it clear that her fate is sealed. This ending is much darker and reinforces the idea that the cave symbolizes Sarah's emotional and mental downfall. Orphan is a film whose shocking ending makes it clear that not everything is what it seems, reminding us that sometimes true horror hides behind an innocent smile. Kate and John are devastated after losing the baby they were expecting, so they decide to visit a local orphanage to begin an adoption. And that is where they meet Esther. This girl is sweet, kind, and almost perfect, with a story that is even tragic, or at least that's what they believed. Shortly after moving into the house, Esther begins to show a very dark side that puts the entire family in danger, but when Kate tries to put an end to it, it is already too late. This family soon discovers that Esther is not what she seems. What once looked like an attempt to heal old family wounds turns into a terrifying nightmare when they uncover who Esther really is. In the climax of Orphan, Esther's dark secret is revealed. She is not a 9-year-old girl at all, but Lena Clammer, a 33-year-old woman with dwarfism and severe psychological disorders. After discovering the truth, Kate rushes home to confront Lena, but she arrives too late. This woman has killed John and now threatens Max, the youngest daughter of the family. The final confrontation takes place on a frozen lake, where Lena and Kate fight fiercely. Lena slips back into her Esther persona, begging Mommy not to let her die, while hiding a knife behind her back. Kate angrily replies that she is not Lena's mother and kicks her in the face, breaking her neck. Help, I'm a Fish is one of those rare modern animated films that dared to show one of the most disturbing endings of its time. The movie tells the story of Fly, Stella, and Chuck, 3 children who accidentally end up drinking a potion created by a professor. This potion has the power to transform humans into fish, but it also comes with a danger. If they don't take the antidote within 48 hours, they will remain as fish forever. Everything begins when Stella drinks the potion and turns into a starfish. Fly and Chuck have no choice but to drink it as well, and so begins an underwater adventure to try to recover their human form. The real problem starts when a bit of the antidote falls near a shark and a pilotfish. That contact gives them the ability to speak, and thus Joe is born, a fish who becomes the villain of the movie. Joe becomes intelligent and decides he will be the new leader of the ocean, creating a power system, turning the other fish into his subjects, and forming an army under his command. He presents himself as the dictator of the ocean, obsessed with obtaining the antidote recipe so that his power will never end. Towards the end, when the children are running out of time, they manage to remember the recipe and gather the ingredients. However, Joe confronts them in the final battle. With each sip of the potion he drinks, he mutates more and more, becoming a monstrous creature. The water darkens, and the underwater scene becomes one of the most disturbing moments in the entire film. Joe keeps drinking, convinced that it will make him stronger, but all it does is make him lose control. His body cannot handle it, and he finally drowns, showing a death that is quite terrifying for what is supposed to be a children's movie. Stranded Deep's ending left many people confused and even upset because of how strange and dark it turned out to be, and here's why. The game begins with us traveling on a jet when suddenly it hits turbulence, seemingly collides with something, and crashes into the ocean. We wash up on a small island where our survival adventure begins. Our mission is to find parts for a small plane, to repair it, and escape the place. The real challenge is that the parts are only obtained after battling sea monsters. We face none other than the Megalodon and a giant squid. Once we gather the parts and decide to leave the island, the final cutscene begins. The player, after repairing a seaplane on a sunken aircraft carrier, prepares to escape. But as it takes off, the unexpected happens. We crash into another plane, and it turns out to be the same jet we were on at the start of the game. Everything repeats. This cyclical ending suggests that we are trapped in a time loop, in purgatory, or perhaps in a dream before death. The idea is clear. Escaping the islands only leads to the same crash over and over again, leaving the protagonist's fate completely ambiguous. In The Sixth Sense, the story follows a boy named Cole who can see and speak with ghosts, and his therapist, Dr. Malcolm Crowe, who tries to help him understand and cope with this ability. The film is defined by a shocking twist at the end that completely changes the way the story is perceived. In the ending, Malcolm realizes that he has been dead the whole time. The opening scene is the key. He was fatally wounded by one of his former patients, but throughout the rest of the movie, he believes he is simply dealing with marital problems while working with Cole. The crucial moment comes when Malcolm notices that he is not wearing his wedding ring and realizes that his wife cannot see or hear him. This revelation recontextualizes everything, including his interactions with both Cole and his wife, and explains why Cole was able to see him from the start. Malcolm is one of the ghosts that Cole sees. After this discovery, Malcolm finds peace by understanding that his purpose was to help Cole. Through his connection with the boy, he comes to terms with his own death and accepts that he must move on. Braid is a game that, although it looks family-friendly, has one of the most disturbing revelations in the industry. Each world has different enemies, and the main objective is to search for a princess. What makes it different is that Tim, the character we play, has the ability to rewind time, and in each world, this mechanic is reflected in a different way. When we finally reach the last world, we encounter the princess in the arms of a villain, calling for help. Here, we run alongside the princess, and she helps us by pulling levers to open doors so we can move forward. When we reach the end of the castle, we realize that the princess was not helping us save her, but was actually running away from us. Since the level at the beginning is played in reverse, what the princess was really trying to do while running was block our path, and the villain we saw at the start is actually the knight who rescues her. The story tells us that Tim hurt the princess deeply, and that is why she was always running from him. We were the villain all along. The game's texts reveal that Tim is obsessive, alcoholic, cruel, and willing to use inhumane methods to achieve his goals. It is even suggested that Tim could be one of the scientists involved in the Manhattan Project, responsible for the creation of the atomic bomb. Corpse Party. The plot centers on a group of students who, along with their teacher, perform a kind of ritual meant to keep them together as friends forever. However, something goes wrong, and as a result, a portal opens that transports them to a cursed school filled with dangers, where, one by one, they begin to be brutally killed. The series does not aim for subtlety. It relies on direct horror and graphic violence to build its atmosphere. The haunted school itself becomes almost like another character, its tragic history feeding the curse and giving the place an unsettling presence. The protagonists manage to halt the curse of the school and perform the ritual again to return home. For a moment, everything seems to have worked out. But in an unexpected and deeply disturbing twist, Satoshi does not make it back from that dimension. The final scene shows only his arms, torn completely from his body, a horrific ending that makes sure this story is not easily forgotten. The story follows Madison, a woman who was adopted as a child and has no memory of her life before the age of 9. After suffering domestic violence, she loses her baby and is hospitalized with a head injury. Shortly after, her husband is murdered under mysterious circumstances. When Madison returns home, she begins experiencing visions in which she witnesses brutal murders carried out by a man named Gabriel. Her adoptive sister supports her as they try to uncover why she is connected to these killings, eventually revealing hidden truths about Madison's past. Her adoptive mother had been told she was an only child and that her biological mother had died during childbirth. But this was false. Madison's real name is Emily, and as a child she often spoke to what was believed to be an imaginary friend named Gabriel. It is revealed that Emily's mother was abused and became pregnant with twins at the age of 15. One child was Emily, while the other was a parasitic deformity attached to her back, named Gabriel. Doctors identified Gabriel as a teratoma, a tumor containing bones, teeth, and even eyes, directly connected to Emily's brain. The surgeons removed most of Gabriel's body, but could not extract the part fused to her brain, so they concealed it inside her skull. Whenever Gabriel takes control, he forces his way out through Emily's head, twisting her body and using it backwards while suppressing Emily's consciousness. Gabriel seeks revenge on everyone who tried to destroy him, including Emily's doctors and even their own mother.